Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Compass Point. It's Thursday, May 21. It feels just like so many other days that we've been living during this lockdown. It feels like we're living in the movie Groundhog Day. Every day is just a repeat of the one before. But there is something very special about this day, May 21. It's Ascension Day. It falls on a Thursday every year, 40 days after Easter. And it's probably one of the holidays that most people tend to forget. I mean, we all remember Christmas, we all know about Easter, but Ascension Day, it's not one that most of us remember. And when you think about it, it's understandable. Ascension Day remembers how Jesus went to heaven, how he ascended to be back with his Father. He left us. So what is there really worth celebrating about that? It's not the absence of God that we want to celebrate, it's the presence of God. And so on this Ascension Day, it's important that we remember why Jesus left and how, paradoxically, his leaving enables us to experience his presence in a really personal and profound way. It's true that feeling the absence of someone or something that we have lost really hurts. I think of how Barbara Brown Taylor puts it in one of her reflections on Ascension Day, when she names some of the ways that absence hurts. Absence is the memory of what used to be there, but is there no longer. Absence is the arm flung across the bed in the middle of the night. It's the overgrown lot where the old house once stood, the house in which people laughed and thought their happiness would last forever. We've all felt that ache. And in fact, I think we're feeling that ache right now because we've lost so much. There's a sense of absence that has lingered throughout this lockdown. And that's why the disciples were so heartbroken when Jesus talked to them about how he would soon be leaving them. We read about this in John 14, 15, and 16. He knew how hard his departure would be on his disciples, which is why he wanted to prepare them for it, and why he wanted to comfort them already before he left. In John 14, we find this great verse, verse 18, where Jesus says to his disciples, "I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you." Now, on one level, that verse sounds very confusing when you put it in the context of the entire chapter. Jesus has been talking about his departure, and yet here he says, "I will come to be with you." That sounds confusing. I'm going away, but I'll come to you. I'm leaving, but I will not leave you. It's really not all that confusing. And here's what Jesus is saying. I'm going to leave you physically, but I'm not going to leave you completely. I'll be with you in a different way. And that's why Jesus spoke so much about the coming of the Holy Spirit in John 14 and 15 and 16. It's how the disciples then and now would experience the presence of Jesus, not physically, but spiritually. In John 14, verse 16, Jesus says these words, "I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth." Now, what's interesting about that verse is the word that Jesus uses to refer to the Holy Spirit. He calls the Holy Spirit another counselor. The New Testament was written in Greek, and the Greek language has two words for other. One means other in the sense that it is just like the first, the thing that it's being compared to. And the other sense, or the other word for other, is something that is altogether different from whatever it is being compared to. I think I need to use an illustration to make that clear. Let's say you're enjoying a wonderful meal and you're having a great dessert. You enjoy a delicious piece of pie. It was so good that you're tempted to say, "I want another piece of pie." You don't want another different thing. You want another piece of pie just like the one you just had, another just like the first. And imagine that your car has seen better days. It's falling apart. You've spent a lot of money in repairs, and you've come to the point where you say, I need another car. You don't want another car just like the one you've got. You want another one, a different one different from the first. So when Jesus talks about the coming of the Holy Spirit as another counselor, the word he uses, or the word in that verse in the original Greek, is another just like the first. Now that's very important because it suggests that Jesus is the first counselor, and the coming of the other counselor will be just like the first, just like Jesus, a spiritual presence. Now that's an incredible promise because the Holy Spirit is the one by whose presence Jesus himself would continue to live in the hearts of his disciples. It's as true now as it was then. All these centuries later, we have a relationship with Jesus that's personal, it's real, because that other counselor, just like the first, lives in our hearts. The Holy Spirit is the presence of Jesus, physically absent, spiritually present. Now, this is why this Ascension Day is really worth celebrating. We're not lamenting the departure of Jesus as if he's gone completely. No, he's still with us. And he still says to us these incredible words, I am with you. I will not leave you. I will not forget you. Picture Jesus saying to people this in the situations they're in now. You may have lost a lot in this pandemic, but you have not lost me. You will never lose me. You might have lost your job, your spouse, your child, your dream, whatever that may have been, but you will not lose me. You may feel like an orphan now, not just in the sense that you're sad and alone, but in the most profound sense of that word, in the sense that the Bible uses the word orphan as one who is vulnerable, who along with a widow is defenseless in the world, forgotten, neglected. We may feel like that sometimes, as though we don't have a friend in the world and no one to defend us. Those are the ones who are closest to the heart of God, orphans and widows. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Here's the best thing about Ascension Day. The world may forget you, but Jesus never will. You might lose everything, but you will never lose him. The one who lost everything for you is with you now and will be forever. Rachel Held Evans, in her reflection on this verse, imagines how the disciples may have remembered what Jesus said years later when the world turned on them, when they were imprisoned, persecuted, killed. One wonders, she writes, if in those dark days spent in hiding, the disciples held each other close and whispered to one another, remember, we are not orphans. We are not alone. They weren't, and neither are we. So let's celebrate that today, especially today, on this Ascension Day. Let's not forget the Lord's promise, the promise never to leave us. Let's remember Ascension Day. Maybe we need a flower to help us remember this day. You know, every other major holiday has a flower. Christmas has its poinsettias. Easter is all about lilies. What would Valentine's Day be without the rose? I've got the perfect flower for Ascension Day. Forget-me-nots. They're loving this cool spring. I took these from my garden about an hour ago. Forget-me-nots, a beautiful flower with a great message, perfect for Ascension Day, because they tell us that we are not forgotten, not now and not ever. I hope this has given you some encouragement. Thanks so much for watching. I encourage you to share it with people for whom you think it may be beneficial. Encourage them to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing you here again this coming Sunday as I share another message from the Bible with you. In the meantime, know that you are not forgotten. Jesus is with you. Be well and be blessed.